Hey guys, Gare here, and hope everyone's having like a really fantastic weekend. And today I want to do what I believe will be the first of my favorite movies video. Um, and uh, I believe I've mentioned on my YouTube page in the past that I do have a movie page on Facebook that's called Movie Magic Mesmerize Me. It's doing very well. We've been around for about 2 months now, and we post everything about movies of all kinds. There's basically no restrictions as long as we keep it clean and everybody minds their manners and all that. And I'll put a link down below. We've got a little more than 1,100 members right now, so it's doing really well. And we post on every kind of movie imaginable, highbrow, lowbrow, and everything in the middle. So I hope you guys will check that out. And I want to do a series of videos about some of my favorite movies. I get asked a lot, like, what's your favorite movie? What's your top 10? And these lists are fun. And, we all enjoy reading each other's lists and making our own lists. I have to honestly say, I've loved movies all of my life, of course, ever since I was a little kid, and I I can't really say that I have a favorite. My next video I'm planning on doing, I'm going to do a video and talk about my stock answer to my favorite movie, but I've got maybe like 20 favorites, I would say, and they're all across the spectrum of film. But absolutely, one of my way up there near the top is a movie that I want to talk about today, and it is the great Italian director Vittorio De Sica's 1971 winner of the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar, The Garden of the Finzi-Continis. A lot of you are probably not familiar with this movie. Maybe you've heard of it but don't know anything about it. Maybe you've never heard about it at all. Maybe some of you really love it like I do. And one thing I want to say right from the beginning is that I hope we don't get too tripped up on the name, because that's happened. I'll talk about this movie enthusiastically with people over the years, and then well, they can never get quite past the name. The name is Finzi-Contini, Finzi hyphen Contini. The Finzi-Contini in this movie are a wealthy family who live in the town of Ferrara, Italy. They're very wealthy, aristocratic family, old money, going back generations. And the story takes place in the late 1930s as the alliance forms between Italy and Germany, Hitler and Mussolini, and there's growing fascism in Italy, and the restrictions and the anti-Semitism, goes and moves into place, becomes official, and starts creeping into people's lives. But this is based on the book by one of the really very fine Italian writers of the 20th century named Giorgio Bassani. And I would also highly recommend that you read his books in English translation, as I have. I have several of his books, and Garden of the Finzi-Contini being among them. And he was a very fine novelist, short story writer, poet, essayist, wrote screenplays. Um, Not terribly well known in America, but still very well known and appreciated and respected in Italy. One of the very, very finest writers. And The movie was directed, as I mentioned, by the great Italian director Vittorio De Sica. And when I say that name, different allusions will probably pop up in some movie lover's head. He was, primarily to me, he was one of the very finest film directors ever in post-World War II Italy. He was one of the people, among with Roberto Rossellini and Visconti, who ushered in Italian neorealism in such classic films as Bicycle Thief, Shoe Shine, and Umberto D. Later, he made a series of films with Sophia Loren in the 1960s. Sophia Loren won her Oscar for Best Actress with the movie Two Women that was directed by De Sica. Also did a series of comedies directed by De Sica, Sophia, Marcello Mastroianni, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, Marriage Italian Style. Um, Garden of the Finzi-Continis was actually one of De Sica's last works. He The book had come out about 10 years earlier, and it was really the crowning achievement of De Sica's career and made in the last few years of his life. He went on to do a couple of other films that weren't quite as good, aren't quite as renowned, but this is definitely the crowning achievement of his career. Very great film. Both the book and the movie, to me, are just inspired works of two two gentlemen who were, well, first of all, they were true gentlemen, classy gentlemen, in the true sense of those words, true senses of those words, and the work of mature artists, at the height of their powers. Bassani, when he wrote the book, was more middle-aged, but it's a mature work of certainly spiritually the work of elegant older men, looking back on a tragic past. And the story as I said, takes place in the late 30s. A lot of Bassani's writing was considered autobiographical, not strictly so, but certainly based on his own experiences growing up and as a young man in Ferrara, Italy. And At the center of it is this family, the Finzi-Contini, the wealthy aristocratic family, who live who live in the town of Ferrara within a walled garden. And when we say garden, we should use the word advisedly. It's almost like a countryside within this garden, and they're in the mansion in the middle of it. So they are within the town, but they're very separate from it. They also consider themselves separate from. They're aware of the growing anti-Semitism and the restrictions, but they somehow think that they are above it, that it will somehow pass them by. The disaster will not touch them, as a lot of wealthy people seem to think. But At the center of the family is the beautiful daughter named Nicole, played by wonderful actress Dominique Sanda, who was a real star in European cinema during the 70s. She worked with such famed directors as Robert Bresson. She worked with Visconti, with De Sica, and in a number of films. Bernardo Bertolucci in 1900 and just really one of the lights of European cinema in the 70s, a blonde beauty. She is I don't know if I'd say spoiled. She's the indulged daughter of the family, and it also stars as her brother Alberto, another light of European cinema in the 70s, Helmut Berger, and an actor, and I can't begin to pronounce his last name. His first name is Lino, who plays the character Giorgio, same name as the author of the book, of course. And Giorgio is like, he's not from a poor family, but just kind of like more like a regular middle class family, I guess you would say. And he and Nicole have known each other since they were children in school, and he's always been in love with her. And they're always the relationship is sort of on the cusp of becoming something more than friendship. Very much infatuated with her. Her feelings toward him are a little bit more complicated, and they're a little bit more ambiguous. You have the feeling that he's here in the relationship, and she's kind of hovering, quite a bit more below, not ready for a committed relationship, sort of playing with him. You never 100% quite, I think not until the end do you really get a good grasp of what her feelings toward Giorgio are. But and as Holocaust films go, um, Garden of the Finzi-Contini is a bit of an anomaly. There are no Nazis. Um, there are no, concentration camps. This uh, this movie focuses on the lives of the people affected by the Holocaust. Um, you know, the devastating consequences of anti-Semitism, of intolerance, of prejudice, of disaster. That it's like a dark cloud that forms over these people's lives. And one of the great, there's a very tragic ending, but as we know, history was not kind to that part of that country during that period, and to say the least. And this movie is more about like what has a very tragic sense of what could have been. It's very touching, very elegant, very elegiac storytelling. We don't really know, like, if World War II had not happened, um, would would Giorgio and Nicole have gotten together, have worked out their differences, and become a couple or whatever? We will never know, and that's really the gist of the story. Is what was lost and what could have been. Very elegantly told, beautiful written story, and I would highly, highly recommend um, that you certainly at least see this movie. Probably very few of you are going to check out the Bassani book, but I really wish you would, But um, by all means, check out Garden of the Finzi-Contini, and my belief is that you will enjoy it very much as I have over the years. And um, obviously, I love this movie. I speak of it in glowing terms. I also have numerous books, different editions of Garden of the Finzi-Contini. There's like I don't know if you can see this picture very well. The screen's going hazy red, but it's uh, it's a garden on it. It's obvious estate and some beautiful trees and some stairs in the middle of it. And I have another edition uh, of the book. This is from the Library of the Holocaust. Again, the grounds of an elaborate estate. And I even have the movie soundtrack. The music done by DeSica's son, Manuel DeSica. And this is an album from the soundtrack album from the early 70s that has never been opened. I got this off eBay a few years ago. Somewhere I have a VHS of the movie as well, that I just didn't have time to drag out. But uh, one of my all-time favorite movies, Garden of the Finzi-Contini. Please see it. If you do, let me know what you think about it. And I would love for the people on Movie Magic Mesmerize Me to do videos such as this. Do videos like this one. Post your reviews. Post what your favorite films are. If you're more technologically adept than me and you can show clips and talk about it at the same time, that would be fantastic. But I thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this video, if the movie might be something that you might possibly check out someday, which I sincerely hope that you will. And I'm sure you'll love it as I do. And let me know what some of your all-time favorite films are as well. Thanks a lot.